I mean, Lorne Michaels famously brought us to New York and toughened us up, and we were there in New York before the first special came out. Long enough to get local interest and know, oh, this is probably going to work everywhere. But then we did it in Canada without a sense of what the rules of showbiz were. In the same way we came up in the clubs without being in Second City or Yuck Yucks or in a system, it was really up to us. And I think having that independence for so long in a pre-social media day where it really was word of mouth. That let us make our own rules, and I think that's the thing that gives it its original stamp. I don't think we could have been Kids in the Hall in LA or New York or Chicago.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Movie Podcast. My name is Daniel, and joining alongside me today are Anthony.
Hello.
And Shahbaz.
Hi, everybody.
Anthony, I'm going to get you to start us off. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, excellent. The weather is phenomenal. Allergies kicking in a bit, but I'm grateful that we have the sun.
Shahbaz, how about yourself? How are you doing?
Doing great, man. I'm feeling good. I'm starting to eat healthier, I think, in my life now. So I've been more conscious when I go out places now I'm not like one of those people that's like looking at calories and being like, well, I am looking at calories, but I'm not like, oh my God, like, does this have gluten in it or does this have that in it? I'm just trying to be a bit more like conscious, like maybe I shouldn't go for the McDonald's and maybe I should sidestep to something that's a little bit nicer. So it's been an interesting journey so far. But if the whole podcast fam can cheer us on, then you know what? Hey, gonna keep eating healthy, and we're gonna get healthier and fitter soon.
I like it. And here's the thing. I'm going to get you to hold that eating healthier for a second, because I got a big announcement, and this is going to be a big plate of food that you're about to digest.
But it's healthy though.
Okay, it's healthy. It's good for your soul, but there's a lot. So just stick with me on this. Today on the Movie Podcast, this is a very special edition of the show. This is a landmark episode for us because we are being joined by Dave Foley and Mark McKinney of the Kids in the Hall. Not just Canadian royalty, but comedy royalty across the world. And I'm just at a loss for words for how lucky we are to have them joining us on the show today. Shay, I'm going to get you to start us off. How are you feeling about welcoming the Kids in the Hall today?
Man, these guys are well. First of all, the one thing that I want to say is whenever a guest or anybody kind of starts off by roasting us, you're kind of in for a good ride. And immediately Dave and Mike didn't hold back. They immediately start to attack us, and I think maybe that's why I'm going to start eating healthy now. Because no, I'm just kidding.
They didn't attack our weights, man. They attacked our facial hair.
I'm just kidding. They did attack our facial hair, but honestly, that there's such good people, and I think the hardest thing for a lot of people who are maybe more familiar with Mike on Superstore is adjusting to his voice. So your speakers aren't broken. I promise you. That is what Mike sounds like in real life. And Dave is an absolute legend. We've loved watching him. Obviously, Kids in the Hall, but Daniel, you and I watch a lot of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he does appear once in a while on the show, and his character is a lingering character that always kind of makes me laugh. So great people, a lot of fun, and absolute Canadian legends, like you mentioned.
And it's funny too, because as we said, they are, yes, we joined the Zoom call and immediately they are roasting us, but it's also from a place of love and a place of just affection. I think we're lucky, obviously, to be talking to them, but it's a different level when you start getting roasted by your own guests on the show. I mean, that's pretty special, and so we gotta accept it.
You're getting roasted by Canadians, so there was so much politeness behind it too. That
it was
kind of like they were complimenting us. They're like, "Oh, look at you guys and your beards; they're so nice." And it's like, shit, is that a bad thing? Like, I guess I'll go shave. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's dope. Anthony, how are you feeling about welcoming Dave and Mark on the show today?
It's surreal. Again, I never expected to have these two on our show, and having this type of comedic royalty to be part of the Movie Podcast is phenomenal. I can't wait for our audience to watch and listen and just hear them shit on you for a bit, but and just learn about the history of Kids in the Hall and just how they grew.
It's amazing too, because we were talking like earlier off when we weren't recording that. Obviously, we're a movie podcast. We're a podcast from Canada. We're grateful and happy to be doing what we do. But it's so cool when we interview someone, and then the next week you see them like, oh, they're out doing the Tonight Show, and like the same thing happened with Ki Hui Kwan, with doing Jimmy Kimmel. And obviously these are big stars before us and before our show, but it's just cool to be in the presence of that, press circuit. You know what I mean? It's always cool to be part of that. Now, The Kids in the Hall, the revival is going to be hitting Prime Video Canada and Prime Video worldwide on May 13th for the first season, and we really hope they get to do more. And then there is a Comedy Punks documentary, which is looking at the legacy of The Kids of the Hall. That's going to be dropping on Prime Video on May 20th, and I want to say thank you to our friends at Amazon Prime Video Canada for, first of all, letting us do this interview, for sending us the episodes in the documentary to watch. We highly encourage you check them out. It is required watching, especially for Canadians and just for if you're fans of comedy. There are so many big names that show up there, and it's just incredible to see the reach that The Kids in the Hall had on the entire world. Today we're just talking to Mark and to Dave, but there is a team of just incredible human beings in The Kids in the Hall that go watch their work, because so much of, I think, comedy today stems from the inspirations of what they did on that show. But before we get to that, I want to remind you, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday, and watch out throughout the week for our review episodes on all the latest movies and series. We have our Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness spoiler cast out right now for you to check out, so please go listen to it. If you want to go watch it on YouTube, you can do that as well too on youtube.com/themoviepodcast. Don't forget, you could follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, join our Discord, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Now, we do have a little bit more housekeeping to do before we dive into our interview. We are partnering with our friends at Walt Disney Studios Canada for a giveaway. We want to send you and a friend to see the Bob's Burgers movie early. So I highly encourage, if you want to be part of that, go follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Go comment on the post. The post caption will have all the information you need to enter. Or if you don't have social media, that's totally okay too. Hopefully you have email, or somehow you're listening to the show, you have some type of electronic device. You could email us your favorite Bob's Burger character, and you'll be entered into our giveaway to win. Now, without further ado, please welcome Dave Foley and Mark McKinney to the Movie Podcast.
Did you guys meet at a beard convention?
Yes.
Yeah, we really liked the vibe of each other's beards. Right? We have this relationship.
They're pretty complimentary. Yeah.
Mark, if you want some of our beard, would that help?
Yes, I would love if I had a beard that could get within spitting distance of my mustache, I'd be pretty pleased.
Dave, what did you think of the game last night?
Disappointing.
Yeah, that's
a little disappointing. But that first game was the best Leaf game I've ever seen.
I'm just gonna keep riding the high of the first game, and
yeah, that was amazing. Yeah,
I didn't watch it last night. I knew to turn off.
I think for the first time in my life, Bruce and I were texting back and forth during the first game, and I don't think Bruce and I have ever texted during a Leafs game before.
It's fantastic. I've been texting with Kevin about Washington games since the 90s. But
yeah.
But now we can't even use the name of the team anymore, because it's like, as bad as the original name was, the replacement name is just I can't. Yeah,
it's not great. It's not great.
No.
Oh, Washington football team, or they're the Hogs. That's it. Those were your options.
I'm Daniel,
and I'm Shahbaz.
I just want to say,
hey, Daniel, Shahbaz.
I just want to say thank you to both of you for taking the time to talk with us today. We're such huge fans of both of yours, and it's very surreal to us to be here talking with you right now. So thank you, first and foremost.
Well, imagine how surreal it is for us to both still be alive, for that matter.
That's true.
It's good. I mean, it's a good start for us.
At this age, we thought we would, when we started, we thought that after 30, you lost your mind.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're starting to lose ours, so I guess that makes sense.
That track for us. How does it feel for you guys? Like, we were at the Prime Video event a couple weeks ago, and just seeing the reaction of you guys coming out on stage. What it's been like for you guys, having this warm reception and coming back with the new show and being on Prime? Like, how's it all been feeling for you guys, being back in the fold of all of this?
I actually sort of,
because
what have you saying?
I'm just saying I was really flattered by the reaction that day, because there's a room full of TV journalists. I've been to a number of these things, and so have you. They never look up from their computers.
Right.
It's the deadest crowd in the history of fuck. So
we like cheering. We were cheering our heads off. So we were happy to be there.
That was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was for the first time for me. I actually sort of felt like, oh, we are a part of the culture now. And like, I remember even after we did that the daytime stuff, I remember going back to the hotel and trying to nap, but I had the news on, and live feeds kept coming up on the news of the upcoming Rivoli event,
Yeah.
and I kept thinking, oh my God, people are excited, and I think it only really struck me then that people are really kind of excited about what we're doing.
That's awesome. Now, we here at the Movie Podcast love asking those really hard hitting questions. So the first question I really want to ask is, what was the penis budget on this show? Because there was a lot more penis than I expected, and I'm glad to see that you guys are bringing that out there. What was that like?
Well, first off, I should point out that my penis was not prosthetic, but everything else was.
Oh,
Congratulations.
And Kevin of course, has been prosthetic for years. But yeah, it was. Yeah, well, I'm not sure where else to go with the answer.
That's fair enough.
What is to say that I can see why they thought it'd be a prosthesis, because I always thought Kevin had a bit of a hammer dick. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Well, I'm glad you guys got the ability to do it, because obviously coming from when you were on CBC before to now being on Amazon Prime, like you probably got a lot more flexibility, more room to break those boundaries, show nudity, cuss a lot more, show that violence that you probably didn't get a chance to show as much before. That must have been a great area to kind of play with them.
Well, one thing is I've always
is that how this interview is going?
Yeah. Well, I would say one thing is that in our modern culture, there really is only one part of the male body that can be naked, and that is the penis.
It's true.
Like everything else can be shown in a TV commercial. So the only thing you're not supposed to show is the penis, and it's a kind of the especially at least in North America, it's kind of the last barrier.
Right.
Mark, for yourself, we loved you on Superstore. And I'm just curious, with a character like Glenn, where did that voice come from? Like, where did you find that character for Glenn on Superstore?
It was sort of an amalgam. I mean, I auditioned kind of like on a flyer, because it was in Toronto, and I had the 3 or 4 scenes, and I liked them. I could see what the writer was up to in them. And then I just kind of felt like I was doing it in my own voice, and I sort of did a hybrid version of a character that I invented during Kids in the Hall but never done, that showed up in a Bruce movie a few years later. But anyway, when I did it in that high kind of register, it just gave this guy the kind of pathos he needed to be a manager that was just barely holding on. But it was interesting. It was a sketch comedy choice. I'll do this for this sketch, and then 6 years later, thank God it didn't run out for me, but people commented on that.
And the voice has
people who weren't a huge fan of that voice, but I think
I would say the voice had a crystalline quality.
Yeah,
that you felt that made you feel like you were worried that character was going to break.
Yes, exactly. He should feel like a guy not on the verge of a nervous breakdown, but like that
shattering.
People are going to come after him or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was nice though, because I mean, with a character like with Glenn, especially, like he did kind of toe that line a little bit, where when he was angry or upset, you're like, okay, like I'm taking this for real, because it's not a character that you would assume get to that level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Dave, you had a chance to work with Mark on the last couple episodes of Superstore. Was it really difficult just kind of hearing him talk in that voice to you and like going along with it?
No, I've almost never hear Mark talk in his own voice, so I'm used to it. Yeah.
And you also had the chance of working on LOL Canada with Colin Mockery. Like that must have been such a cool and scary experience, I feel, being in a room with all those people.
It is the most going against the nature of both being a comedian and being a Canadian.
Right.
To be in a room and to not be, and to be deliberately not supportive of each other.
Yeah.
And deliberately not laughing at each other's jokes. It's a horribly unnatural thing to go through. So I'm glad it was entertaining to watch.
Looking into
Pardon?
I heard that there's going to be a parliamentary subcommittee looking into the un-Canadianness.
Oh, good.
That's what they're writing the whole election on, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
For both of you, when we were talking to Colin, we asked him like, what separates Canadian comedy from the rest of the world, and obviously we watched the documentary for the Kids in the Hall, and it's so remarkable. You see all the lives that it touched. Did you guys ever think that it would get to a level where you're touching the lives of so many comedians who are, doing their thing today? And how did being a Canadian help you in that?
Well, I think at first, when we first started, I think we thought we might be wildly successful. And then that turned out not to happen. And then it's taken like about another 40 years for us to realize, oh, we were influential. So influential is nice.
Influential is great.
I think the freedom part of doing it in Canada was huge. It was like, I'm not sure. I mean, Lorne Michaels famously brought us to New York and toughened us up, and we were there in New York before the first special came out, long enough to get local interest and know, oh, this is probably going to work everywhere. But then we did it in Canada without a sense of what the rules of showbiz were, in the same way we came up in the clubs without being in Second City or Yuck Yucks or in a system. It was really up to us. And I think having that independence for so long in a pre-social media day where it really was word of mouth, that let us make our own rules. And I think that's the thing that gives it its original stamp. I don't think we could have been Kids in the Hall in LA or New York or Chicago.
Yeah. And we never had an organization overseeing what we were doing. Like we weren't part of, like, Second City Theater had its history. So if you're in Second City, you lived as part of that history.
Yeah, you sketches that were written a decade before.
But we were 5 guys, and there was absolutely nobody else that had a say in anything we did.
Right.
And even if they wanted to, like, people would, like, it was kind of a perfect trifecta of like the 3 pillars of the stool that were supporting us with the CBC, HBO, and Lorne Michaels. Well, Lorne's in New York doing Saturday Night Live, which is kind of a full-time job.
Yeah.
The HBO people came once, and we were a 5th or 6th floor walk-up in a studio on St. Nicholas Street. So they came up once, and the CBC kind of went, we got great partners, let them figure it out. Yvonne Hassan was instrumental in getting this thing made. So it was kind of good. We were left to do. No one gets that. No.
Mm-hmm.
Not back then, anyway.
Yeah, right. I think particularly that having Yvonne be an early booster of the troupe before we had a TV show, and before he worked at CBC, and having Lorne throw his weight behind us and tell people to leave us alone was a huge advantage.
That's pretty wicked. Do you guys find that now, with the age of comedy that we're in, is it easier to come up with the sketches that you're working on, or do you find it a lot more difficult to try to be, making sure that you're not offending any people or trying to go down a different path that might end up the wrong way?
Well, I don't think we put much thought into whether or not we're going to offend people.
Good.
I think we're all. I think we function from the vantage point that we're decent human beings, and we have, I don't think we're going to enjoy anything that's horribly mean to anybody.
Right.
So I think we just write what makes the other 4 guys laugh, and we trust that we have a good viewpoint behind what we're doing.
Yeah, it's true. Their first thought and only thought is, do the other 4 find it funny enough that they'll get behind getting my sketch in,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you guys have plans right now for doing more seasons, or is that still in talks right now? Or what else do you guys have coming out of the pipeline right now?
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just gonna say, well, right now we're just we're waiting for these to become public.
Yeah.
And once they are, we'll see what people think of it. And if and definitely there's talk if the response is good, that we may get back into the studio this summer and do another 8. But it just depends on what everybody thinks of it, really.
Right. How was it like shooting this season, like going back to it? Did you guys just fall all into place? I know you guys have worked together in other ways, like throughout the last few years as well too, but being the 5 of you together, what was it like shooting these 8 episodes?
It was so much fun once we started shooting. Everything else up to that point was a COVID pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Our first, we could barely get together. We weren't allowed to get together. So it
Yeah.
was a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of like that part was hard. And I was kind of glad that we were supposed to shoot summer of 2020, but we ran out of time, and so we came back to it in spring of 2021 and picked up the writing in it. And I'm kind of glad that happened because it shook out a bunch of stuff and we were ready. Everything kind of changed when we got on set, even though we had to wear masks, which I hate. But
But the nice thing was the crew all had to wear masks, which has always been a rule for us. We always forced our crews to wear masks.
finally, history's caught up with us.
Yeah.
Full face masks too.
We don't like seeing working people's faces.
No, that's good.
You know.
No, it's amazing. We've been loving the new episodes, and we're just so excited to have them out in the world next week, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more from you guys. And I just want to say, from both of us, thank you so much for your time today, and it's great to have the kids back. And the documentary is phenomenal too. So like, there's so much reasons to be excited for Kids in the Hall fans right now. So thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And welcome back. That was pretty amazing. That it's been a while since we've done that joke that, Shay, I think, coined the joke on our show. It's just like, wow, I can't believe when that happened and then this happened. Shay, how are you feeling right now?
Man, when Mark reached through the computer screen and grabbed Anthony by the face and said, "I'll kill you," that's when I was like, wow, technology has come a long way, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, is this a threat? But again, he's Canadian and super nice and a celebrity, so we kind of just had to let it happen. And that's only available. That's only available on YouTube as well.
It's another reason to subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, do all of that.
Another reason to subscribe, exactly.
Anthony, how are you feeling right now?
Overwhelmed. I was next to you guys again. I'm the next door neighbor. I always want to like Pokeroo. I show up. I wanted to like
another Canadian legend.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Deep cut.
I'm right here, guys. But no, it's just fantastic to have them talk to you and just like have a chat about their history and all the things that they're doing, and make the fun the funnies always come out of these guys. I think from the Amazon Prime show, I didn't know what they were like in real life, but from when we did the Amazon Prime event back in, was it March?
In April, actually. Yeah,
it was April,
about a month ago.
Yeah, their chemistry and their camaraderie is fantastic. Like they never lose a step, and they're always joking all the time. It's almost like, man, you guys are really good to be on all the time, and that's just shows you a lot about where they are when it comes to comedy in their life, and how passionate they are, and how it kind of sets up a legacy for Kids in the Hall. But yeah, I was floored by everything.
I think what's so special about their friendship too, and like, just to touch on what you said, Anthony, like, you could just tell that they're friends first and foremost. You know what I mean? And I think that shines through the work that they do. It shines through in the original show, and it definitely shines through on the new episodes of the show. And there's so many callbacks to the original episodes in the revival series. And then just when we were watching, the Comedy Punks documentary, seeing all of the influences and all the comedians of today that they've inspired. I think there's so much comedy today that you're like, oh, like this feels like this could come from the Kids in the Hall. Or like, when we were preparing for this interview, I was just going and watching old clips. I'm like, man, like the comedic timing, like some of the songs that they would make, like this sounds like this could have been something from like The Lonely Island or like something on SNL. And obviously they've all, they are familiar with SNL because Lorne Michaels produced and helped create the show. And, some of them were on SNL as well too. And then afterwards, and it's just amazing to see like what they're doing. And like Anthony said, they haven't missed a beat. They were just always ready to deliver. And it's pretty special. I'm just any other thoughts. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Comedy Punks documentary. Any takeaways for you guys on the doc that's going to be premiering May 20th on Prime Video?
I think the doc was really cool. It was such a unique, because yes, I did grow up in Canada, but a lot of the the comedy that I was watching as a kid wasn't always about Kids in the Hall. Like I tune in here and there, but it never resonated with me as a child. So now when I'm watching it growing up, I'm like, wow, like this is mind blowing how far they've come and what they've been able to do, the way they paved the road. I mean, knowing that Dave Foley, in 1998 was in Pixar's second film as Flick in A Bug's Life. Like, that's crazy. Like, these guys have made it. They've done so many great things, and it's just like they're from Canada. Like, there's this thing, you know, with Canadians where we always just kind of look down at the south of the border and into America, and we're always kind of like, hey, maybe one day, with it looks like a crazy party, maybe one day we can kind of stop by and see what's going on. And then some people kind of make it through, and you have, I think, the best comedy, and I'm putting this out there. This is a fact. The best comedy comes from Canada.
I think so. I mean, you look at all of the biggest, you know, stars that were on, you know, SNL, and obviously the Kids in the Hall, and just out there in the world today. It's like Canada is being represented in all of the facets of entertainment right now, in music, in movies, on TV. You can't escape Canada. And I love that, because even if, you know, even when we are seeing like these characters making it big in America, you know, that's like a victory for all of us, right? Because when you think of the population of Canada versus anywhere else in the world, or versus what's in the States, it's like, you know, we were just that good to make it. And it's cool to see all of that.
For me, I think it was, you know, when you watch a documentary, and especially any type of documentary, you try to find the relatable content towards it. And because they really focused on being Canadian, especially like building their comedy group in Toronto, it just it's so many things that you will watch and say, I know that. Oh, I know that place, or wow, that's still around. And you just find a like joy in that this happened where you grew up. And you know, anything can happen for anyone who starts something big. And it's amazing to see that they went to SNL and they didn't make it there, but that's okay, because it toughened them up and they came back and they did some amazing things, and then they branched off and did their own things. And I'm super happy that they were on our show. Like, it's, again, when we have Canadian comedic, not even just Canadian royalty, in the sense of how much impact they had on comedy and just being from Canada, it's amazing. And I can't believe they're on our show.
It's funny because, you know, look at, you know, we've been really lucky to have some incredible special guests join us on the movie podcast this year. And you see, like, you know, just this week as well, you know, we had Devin Nakota join us, who's an up and coming actress. She's in Sneakerella. She's so good in that film. And then earlier this year, we had Clark Bacco, who's also starting to pop up in a lot more movies and shows. It's always like that, like, you know, like that thumbs up. You're just like, it's one, you love talking to them, and it's just, you see the excitement. You see that they're so excited to be making their mark in the world, because, you know, there's so much to offer, obviously, in Canada, and it's just, there's so much talent here, and I love seeing it, you know, break the border, break that glass wall of the border, and, you know, join the party on that side, because like we said, it's a win for everyone.
We're very proud that we have these Canadians, because we're such a small country in terms of population. So, you know, when you deal with other countries with massive populations, you kind of, you forget about it, in a sense. Like, you're
Right.
like, oh yeah, it's just, you're from the States, of course you're funny. But like, when we have something that comes from Canada, it really stands out, and we're very proud that these people are making it. And it's like a little family that we're always like, yeah, thumbs up, like, you do you type of thing.
And it's funny, we came full circle because we had Colin Mockery on the show earlier this year, where obviously he was on Laugh Out Loud Canada, and then Dave Foley was also on that series. So now we got another, you know, we're just collecting our Canadian comedians on the show. So
our
I'm
Infinity
excited.
Stones.
Our Infinity Stones, we'll add them on. It took every fiber of my being not to do my Glenn impression from Superstore. So thank you to both of you for not encouraging me to do it, but I think I do a pretty good one.
You do.
You know, it's a pretty good one. Yeah, I was going to do the rest of the show but I just, like, you know what? We'll leave it to Mark. You know, Mark is the master of that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it to Mark. Any final thoughts on our interview today with the Kids in the Hall? We're okay? I know. I think we're all just a little starstruck as well too, which doesn't happen too often on the show, but we're just so grateful. Thank you so much for listening to this very special episode of the show. I want to say thank you as well to our friends at Prime Video Canada, and for you listening, for Dave, to Mark. Thank you for sharing your time with us on the show. If you want to watch the show, I'm going to speak directly to Dave and to Mark now. If you want to watch the movie podcast, if you want to listen to our show, you can catch a brand new episode every single Monday, and you can watch out throughout the week for our review episodes and all the latest latest movies and series. Make sure to follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to join us on our Discord. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. And of course, I am talking directly to Mark and Dave right now. So anyone else listening, you could turn off the episode now. This is all just for Dave and Mark to join us on this show. Thank you guys so much again. That was This Time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.